And now for the Distinguished Alumnus Award. This is the highest honor the Alumni Association bestows each year. It recognizes outstanding achievement in community and profession and loyalty to the Columbus Academy. There have been 37 previous recipients, a number of whom are with us today, which have been recognized. This year's recipient hails from the class of 1968. To introduce him, I'd like to ask his daughter, Margaret Coons, from the class of 2010. Please come to the podium.
It's an enormous honor to introduce my father, Ted Coons, to you today. As you already may know a bit about his life, and if you don't, you can read it in the bulletin. I thought I'd share with you a couple of anecdotes about my dad as an Academy student, alum, and parent. While I can't say I know a whole lot about my dad's student days at Academy beyond the fact that he would leave his blazer in his locker for weeks at a time, he was in the last class to graduate from the Nelson Road campus. And in order to get to school, he and his brothers walked uphill both ways, and they liked it. It's actually uphill both ways. The experience he likes to reminisce about most is that of riding the bench as a member of the Viking scout team. He always claimed that they knew the opponent's plays better than the opponents knew them themselves. But they still didn't get much playing time. One time, however, the coach put my dad, who usually played left tackle, in at center. It was his moment to shine, so he hiked the ball on the wrong count. He was given another chance and promptly did it again. Thus ended Ted Coons' illustrious career at center. After graduation, Dad studied civil engineering at Penn and proudly earned his gentleman's C in electricity and magnetism. In freshman year, he met my mom at church. They landed in the same psych class in sophomore year, and when he called to ask her roommate to the Penn-Princeton game, my mom said something along the lines of, "She's taken, but I'm available." The rest is history. A couple of months later, Dad asked Mom to wear his ring, but he didn't ask her to wear his Penn ring, he asked her to wear his Academy ring. The way she's always explained it to me when I asked why we were driving 20 minutes or 30 minutes to school when there was a school right around the corner was that Dad was so proud of the preparation Academy gave him for college and the lifelong friendships he made there and the mentors that he gained at Academy, that giving her his Academy ring meant that much more to him. That Academy ring eventually led to a 41-year marriage and 3 new Academy students. My brother and sister wanted me to mention that they really wish they could be here, but Dad made the world very big for them and they are out exploring it. While my brother was in high school, my dad served on the board of trustees. At this point, the board made the excellent decision to vote Academy co-ed. I get to stand here today as an alumna of Columbus Academy because of that decision. My sister was at CSG at the time, and the board had decided to plan a slow integrating of a few grades at a time. Blythe's class was actually one of the last of those, and as soon as Blythe's class went co-ed, she was the first girl signed up. My dad may be one of the old boys, but he's always believed in the modern Renaissance woman. My favorite memories, of course, are the times Dad would change a business trip just to be at a track meet in the middle of nowhere, or would stay up late to make midnight brunch after a school dance. Freshman year of college, I realized just how much Grader's ice cream he kept in the house to lure my friends to our kitchen. When I talked with him about it, he asked, "Well, did any of you ever get into trouble?" And I said, "Well, no." To which he responded, "Well, then it worked," making it clear that that had been his plan all along. My dad has always taken incredible pride in his Academy education and done so much to instill that pride in future generations. My brother, sister, and I are so grateful for my dad's devotion to the school and everything it has given us. He may not let on so much, but I know that this honor means the world to him, and I'm so grateful that he's being presented with it today. So without further ado, the best man I know, Ted Coons.
Well, thank you, Margaret, and thank you for coming today and being here. This is is really a humbling experience for me and quite an honor. I am not a front of the house person, I'm a back of the house person. And that's where I think I do my best work for the things that I love, including the Academy. My association today now goes back nearly 60 years. I was a first grader and I was in a small carpool on the east side in the middle 50s until we moved to Preston Road. And as Margaret described it, if you go down from Preston down Barton into Wold Park, the bottom of the park is lower than the bridge that crosses Allen Creek. And so we did indeed walk to school, and it was uphill in both directions, technically. My memories of that early time go back to the Dennetts, when Mr. and Mrs. Dennett used to drive up the old academy, and I would normally get there before they did. And for a number of years, on days during my third and fourth grade experience, actually held the door for the Dennetts as they came to school. Luckily, I was in the lower school, and Mr. Dennett was much more focused on the upper school, so I never had the kinds of experience some of you did with Mr. Dennett. But be that as it may, it was a good experience and is still today a very strong memory. I was in the third grade room at the time, Mrs. Davis's room, when the flood started, and watched the levee break on the football field. That Main Street at that point was already flooded. I would have normally walked home, but I couldn't because the park was flooded, and barely got home on Broad Street that day. And again, some of you were a few years older than I, then had the awesome task of helping restore the school for the next week when we were out of school, that being in January of that year. As Margaret has said, our family then transitioned from Nelson Road campus to Gahanna. My brothers both graduated from the Gahanna campus, and it's been an interesting experience as a former president of the Alumni Association, a former president of what was the Fathers Association, and then an opportunity to serve on the board after the decision to go co-ed had been made, but when the transition and the implementation was made, a very interesting time in the middle 90s. Three of my teachers and one of my coaches are here today, Mr. Taylor, Mr. Morin, Mr. Dietrich, Mr. Stahl. One of my classmates, Eric Rotundo, is here, and many of you were also in class with me in the late 60s. It's really humbling and an honor to be here. As Asim said, there are 37 distinguished alumni who are all male. We now have a head of school who is a woman, and I look forward to coming to a luncheon in the very near future when we honor our first distinguished alumni. Thank you very much for this honor.
Ted Coons, class of 1968, with the 2013 Distinguished Alumnus Award.